Ed, that little trip down there, what did you establish from that?
Well, it confirmed what I feared, and particularly listening to Manuela and Susan, that action that could be taken, in this case by Warwickshire County Council, isn't being taken, and that the relevant authorities, be it the water companies, be it Ofwat, be it DEFRA, be it in this case the County Council, have just got to get their act together, because there are major issues here. They're affecting our environment, they're affecting the quality of water, and I think ultimately that affects human and animal health.
But there has been the whole principle of it, you know.
There has been massive underinvestment. If you look, and just people have done this as completely neutral and independent, looked at the huge profits they've made over years and the way they've massaged them as well. I think the regulators and DEFRA have really systematically failed, and if you look at the amount of dividends they've had and then you look at the investment that should be made, you might make a link between the two. And the problem I have with people who say we should renationalise is that I don't want the taxpayers to have to pay the bill for that lack of investment. So what I want is a regulated system, much tougher. We've even argued for a sewage tax to make sure the regulation does produce the money that's required, so that water companies have to go through a period of quite tough times for them and their shareholders, because frankly they should go through a tough time. They've had some good years. Our society, our communities, our taxpayers are demanding that they now cough up. I mean, I really think it's this bill for making good this lack of investment should not fall on the bill payer, the water bill payer, or the taxpayer, given what we've seen.
What do you think about the fact, well, A, the Zahawi, he was fired by PM from the cabinet, but he's been re-adopted by the local Tories to stand in the next general election. What do you think about this whole affair of him and his taxes? Should he resign from Parliament, do you think?
Well, I think the Prime Minister probably should have acted more promptly over Zahawi, but eventually the right decision was made. But they haven't followed it through. And I think where politics is in our country, people need to see that integrity and accountability is being put back. And I remember the Prime Minister, when he stood on the steps of Downing Street on his first day as Prime Minister, he said that's what he was going to do. And if you really meant that, and he was going to implement that, he needs to show that with his friends and his colleagues, he's going to insist on that integrity and accountability. And neither he nor the Conservative Party at large seem to be doing that. So it's all fine words. Where's the action? And whether it's Priti Patel being let off bullying, proven bullying, by the independent advisor on ministerial standards, and Johnson just let her keep her position. But it's Suella Braverman resigning because she'd broken the ministerial code and then being reappointed a few days later by Rishi Sunak. Whether it's Dominic Raab holding his position as Deputy Prime Minister, being appointed as Deputy Prime Minister when the allegations were there, not being suspended from it during the investigation, not being sacked, him actually resigning. This is weak leadership by the Prime Minister. He's not upholding his promise of restoring integrity and accountability. And I think it follows through to Nazim Zahawi. It's not like this is an isolated case. So for me, this isn't, I'm sure for the people of Stratford, I can understand it's their local MP. They can see it from their perspective, and I understand and respect that. But I'm afraid I'm seeing this too often with senior Conservatives. And after Boris Johnson's shocking premiership, followed by the brief, shocking premiership of Liz Truss, you would have thought the Conservative Party had learned their lesson. But it looks like this is continuing.
Yeah. Do you think he should? Do you think he's got the nerve of the cheek of the devil, for instance, to stand again in Stratford?
Well, I think decent, lifelong Conservatives are rightly appalled, and they will make their judgment.
Yeah.
And when I hear reports of local Conservative Party members feeling uncomfortable, I expect them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, Conservative Party's got to sort itself out. It's
Oh,
not
yeah,
from me.
I'm
I'm answerable with my colleagues for how we manage things in the Liberal Democrats.
Yeah.
He would not be standing in my party. No. I think people have seen how our existing Lib Dem councillors champion their communities. People like Manuela and Susan, I think, have established strong reputations as people who listen to all sides and are fair and determined and hardworking. And therefore they win support from people of all different political persuasions. I think at the elections district-wide, we've put up a very strong slate of candidates. And from what I can tell, and I've not yet canvassed myself, their message is resonating with local people. You of course have the national backdrop, and there's no point pretending otherwise. Local elections have many local elements, but they have national elements too. And talking earlier to Manuela and Susan and Jenny, they were saying the NHS is coming up a lot.
NHS,
people feeling worried that they can't get GP appointments when they expected to, and so on and so forth. The pension issue is coming up a lot.
Pension.
People feel the Conservatives and people like Nadeem Zahawi promised to look after their pensions and have done a poor job on that. Reneging on an issue with respect to the state pension, and then obviously the trust budget trashing people's private pensions. So I think, whether it's NHS, whether it's pensions, whether it's sewage, there's quite a lot of national issues which are playing in. I haven't even mentioned the cost of living, of course, which is, for many people is proving to be really tough.
Yeah, and you'll be interested to know, you probably have already been told, is that around here they're all calling themselves local Conservatives. They're not trying to distance themselves from the party nationally.
I've seen that across the country, actually.
It's quite funny.
I don't know whether they're following national advice.
They probably are, actually. That's the other thing. Anyway, just one other final point. It is a fact, apparently, that the chief executive of the local authority here, Stratford District Council, has been on a course in London to find out how to deal with the council when there's no overall control. So they're kind of expecting. I wasn't able to stand up this story because, unfortunately, I was told about it by a Lib Dem. And just running the story would have identified the source, but and I tried to get it confirmed, but they wouldn't. So we can't discuss that. This is the press office. So anyway,
well, there are a lot more councils around the country that are run by Liberal Democrats. Either a majority or no control. And I'm expecting on Friday morning we'll wake up to a number of others, and I'm just hoping Stratford will be one. It's definitely possible. It's a close fight, as everyone knows here, between the Liberal Democrats and the Conservatives. So it's quite an exciting. We're certainly following it with huge interest, and one of the reasons I'm here is because I've been really impressed by the local Liberal Democrats campaign.